Hey, my third grade mathematicians. Well, I'm excited to be back with you today, and we are going to be reviewing our strategies for subtraction. But before we begin our day today, let's review our math focus points. So today we are going to be solving add to, take from, put together, take apart, and compare story problems. We also are going to be subtracting three-digit numbers by using strategies that involve either subtracting one number in parts, adding up, or subtracting back. So what I'm going to do today, I'm going to give you a problem, and I'm going to ask you to solve it, okay? And then we are going to review some strategies for subtraction, okay? And I'll walk you through those strategies. All right. So we're going to begin, and I want you to solve 821 minus 426, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and just put a variable in there, and I'm going to put S. Okay, so what I want you to do right now is I want you to pause the video. I want you to solve this problem, and after you have solved it, then come back and press play, and we're going to review the different strategies for subtraction. Okay? All right, so pause the video. Did you pause it? All right, so pause the video, and then we will come back together. Friends, I hope you've had a chance to solve the problem. If not, pause that video and solve it, okay? I want you to find your solid strategy for subtraction. All right, so the first strategy I'm going to model is subtracting in parts, okay? So if we're subtracting in parts, we're going to keep that first number together. I always tell my students, keep that first number in the basket. If I had 821 marbles, I wouldn't take the time to separate into hundreds, tens, and ones. I would subtract from 821 altogether my parts of that second number, okay? So it also, if we pull apart this first number, we run into some issues when we're subtracting numbers that are less than that our first tens and ones, okay? All right, so subtracting in parts. I'm keeping that first number whole, and I'm going to go ahead and subtract my hundreds place, okay? So 821 minus 400, okay? Well, I have 800 here. I'm not subtracting any more tens or ones, so my 21 will remain the same. But 800 minus 400 is 400, then 21. My tens and my ones did not change. I did not take any from my tens or my ones. So 821 minus 400 equals 421. Okay. And then I'm going to go to my tens place, and I'm actually going to subtract that in parts. I know that 5 represents 50. And I see that I have two tens in that number, so I'm going to actually take away 2 tens first, and then 3 tens, and that will help me subtract or think about subtracting all of that 50. So 421, if I take away 20, both of those tens, I will be at 401. Okay, and I'm going to put, I already did my hundreds, done my 20 here, okay? And you know what I may do to get to that friendly number? I may split my 6 into 5 and 1, and go ahead and take away that 1, because where is that going to put me? You're right, at 400. Okay, so I've subtracted the 1. I still have 30 and 5 to subtract. Okay, so 400 minus 30. In my mind, I'm visually breaking up one of these hundreds because I've got to take 3 tenths. So if I'm visually breaking up one of those hundreds, I know I'm going to be at 300. Okay? So from one of those hundreds, if I take 30, I have 3 hundreds left. If I take 30 from one of those hundreds, I'll be at 370. Okay? I can think in my mind 100 minus 30 equals 70. Okay? You can double check by adding back 370 plus 30 equals 400. Okay? So I've subtracted my 30. My 10s are taken care of. So all I have to do now is I need to subtract 5. 370 minus 5 equals 365. I broke up one of those 10s, so I have 6 remaining. From that 10 I took away 5. I have 365. Okay? You can also model this on a number line. Okay, and I'm going to scoot that this way so you can see. If I start at 821, I may take away my 400, and I'll be at 421. Sometimes you're able to visually see it better on a number line. Minus 20 gets me to 401. Minus 1 got me to 400. Minus 30, 370. Minus 5, 365. So on this number line, where is my answer? You're right, it's where we landed. It's where we landed. We're going to see a strategy in a few minutes where that may not be the case. Okay? All right, so let's go to another strategy. It's called adding up. Okay? So adding up. So right now, if that's a strategy that you did not do, I want you to think about what might that look like? Adding up. Okay? So we did 821 minus 456 equals S. Well, if we're adding up, we remember from our Unit 3 discussion and some here in Unit 7 that when I'm subtracting, I'm finding the difference. But when I'm finding the difference, I'm also finding the distance between the numbers. Finding the distance or difference between. Okay, so I can use the inverse and add up to 821. Let's double check and see if we get the same answer. So I'm going to start at 456. My goal is to get to 821. All right, now what I like to do when I'm adding up, I like to get to some friendly numbers first. So 456, I know if I add 4, I'm going to get to a multiple of 10. Okay, so 460. 460 plus 40 is going to get me to a multiple of 100, and I love that. That's a good friendly number. So 460 plus 40, I'm going to make a new 100, and I'm going to be at 500. Now, to get to 821, 500 plus, let me do this. I'm going to go ahead and get to 800. So then all I have to do is add 21. Okay? Now, where is my answer? I started at 456. I ended at 821. My answer is in what I added. What I added to get there. And doesn't that make sense looking at my equation? So my answer is going to be, and I'm going to put this in, I'm going to start with my hundreds, 300, 40 plus 21 plus 4. It's going to give me my answer. Okay, 300 plus 61, I put my 10s together, plus 4. And if I add 4 to 61, 300 plus 65 equals 365. That's what we got before. Okay? You can also model this on a number line, and you'll be able to see the distance and the difference between. So previously on that number line that we did with subtracting in parts, if I added up, I would have the same answer. Okay? Actually, we're going to see it on this next number line. All right. So one last strategy that you could use when solving subtraction problems is subtracting back. Okay? So if that's not a strategy you used, think about what that may mean. 821 minus 456, we put in a variable s. Okay? Put this back up here. All right? So subtracting back, you're still going to start at 821, but you're going to subtract something to get to 456. Okay? Let's see where our answer is when we do that. And I'm actually going to model that on a number line. If I start at 821, my goal is to get to 456. I know if I subtract 400, that's going to be a little bit too much. Okay, then I'd have to add some back, and sometimes then my number line has too many hops and jumps back and forth. So I know I can take a big chunk and subtract 300, and I'm going to be at 521. Okay. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 21 to get me to that friendly number, 500. Okay. I'm going to subtract 40, because 50 would be too much, and that I'm going to be breaking up one of those hundreds. And I'll have 6 tens left in that 100, so 460 minus 4, I'll be at 456. So if I look at this number line, where is my answer to this problem? You're right, it's in the hops. It's what I subtracted back. I subtracted back to 456, so what I subtracted is my answer. And in fact, that looks very familiar to our strategy of adding up, but instead I was subtracting back. Okay? So, I was trying to add 21 twice. S, if I put these two together, 300 plus 61 plus 4, I'm back where I was. 300 plus 65 equals 365. Okay? So if I looked at this number line and I went back and I added, if I started at 456 and I added to 821, I would still have the same answer, and that shows the distance from 456 to 821 and the difference. Okay? So those three strategies, you might have subtracted differently or added up differently, but these are the three strategies that we are using for subtraction. Okay? So this is your time to work on today's work, and you can refer back to this video if you need some help with your strategies. All right, guys, happy subtracting.